My name is Michael Paul Hurd, and I am the owner of Lineage Independent Publishing and author of my Lineage series of historical fiction novels. Welcome to the 10th episode of the series. If this is your first time watching us, the entire series is available on YouTube as individual episodes or as a sequential podcast and includes 2 additional bonus episodes. Individual episodes are also available on Facebook, Substack, and Blue Sky. Simply search on Lineage Independent Publishing and you should get the entire series, or use hashtag Lineage Series Podcast on Facebook. That's all one word, Lineage Series Podcast. For those of you who have followed these episodes from the start, welcome back, and I thank you for your continued interest. In this installment, I'm going to talk about the setting for Cannonball 204, a Lineage series novel which was published in 2024. This episode is recorded, but I still invite you to ask questions or make comments in the appropriate interface on Facebook, YouTube, Substack, or Blue Sky, and I will respond as soon as possible. Cannonball 204 is an extension of Chapter 10 of my original Lineage novel and is the second book where I incorporate time travel into the storyline, this time using mathematics as one of the catalysts for the time hops. Math was not my strongest subject in high school or college, so having a complicated mathematical concept as the inspiration for one of my novels was, shall we say, invigorating. I've always been interested in the War of 1812, which is the historical backdrop for Cannonball 204. Some historians have called it America's second war for independence, as it once again pitted us against the British, but this time the Redcoats were reinforced by a loose Native American confederacy under Tecumseh. Regardless, the relationship between the British and Tecumseh's confederacy was tenuous at best, and it largely fell apart after Tecumseh was killed in the Battle of the Thames in 1813, fighting against American forces led by future President Major General William Henry Harrison. In my family tree, my 4th great-granduncle, Curtis J. Hurd, served in the War of 1812. Digging deep into the military records database, fold3.com, I found that he served as a surgeon's mate in one of the Connecticut regiments. Extrapolating from this fact, I placed Curtis, and likely his regiment, in support of the Battle of Lake Erie, which took place in September of 1813. He is represented in the book by the character of Dr. Stephen Wilcox, a surgeon who was drafted into service, taken prisoner by the British, and then freed when the British forces under General Proctor abandoned Fort Malden and headed east to where they were later defeated in the Battle of the Thames near Moraviantown, Canada. The story opens in 2017 with a recently retired Navy diver heading to the southwestern corner of Lake Erie to conduct a series of dives near the approximate site of the Battle of Lake Erie. A severe storm the week before had uncovered a treasure trove of artifacts from the 1813 battle in 15 to 30 feet of water. The dive team recovers 204 cannonballs and prepares them for display at an upcoming commemoration of the battle near the Perry's Victory and International Peace Memorial at Put-in Bay on South Bass Island, Ohio. The number 204 becomes significant as the cannonballs are stacked for display during a reenactment of the Navy's shore activities on South Bass Island. It turns out that 204 is a square pyramidal number and is the total number of objects in a square pyramid with an 8x8 base. Square pyramidal numbers were studied by Archimedes and Fibonacci, both great mathematicians, so interest in their unique mathematical properties goes back for centuries. The Navy diver, Marcus Aurelius Harris, vanishes as the last cannonball, the 204th, is stacked at the apex of the pyramid. Local authorities are called in to investigate, and a search turns up nothing more than his military dog tags found weeks later in the mud adjacent to a sport fishing marina. Marcus wakes up being castigated by a naval officer for laziness. Marcus quickly realizes that his surroundings have changed, and he stupidly asks the officer what year he's in. That draws a tirade from the officer, an accusation of drunkenness, and an immediate punitive dispatch to the docks to sign onto the crew of the Lawrence under the command of American naval legend Oliver Hazard Perry as the Great Lakes Fleet sails north to engage the British. After the battle, Harris receives a brevet commission for bravery from Oliver Hazard Perry and assumes the rank of lieutenant. With the brevet promotion, he is assigned to the Lawrence as its executive officer. No longer fit for duty as a combat vessel, the Lawrence is sent up the Detroit River to Fort Malden to augment the military hospital there, which is where Harris crosses paths with Dr. Stephen Wilcox, who turns out to be a bit of an opportunist with ulterior motives. A strange turn of events and an outbreak of dysentery result in Harris assuming full command of both the Lawrence and the military hospital on shore. In both timelines, romantic entanglements have a strong impact on the stories. Harris, for one, falls deeply in love with a Native American of the Potawatomi tribe, whose own parentage is strangely connected to Harris's 20th century life. From that revelation, the time-hopping storylines intermingle and become quite complicated. So complicated that you'll just have to read the book to sort it all out. Me talking through the entanglements would just be too confusing. Over the past few minutes, I've provided the historical context and a very brief overview of the storyline for Cannonball 204, the 10th novel in my Lineage series. Aside from my fictionalized characters, the conditions, historical events, and military activities of the period are as accurate as I can make them. That thematic accuracy is something I take great pride in, trying to be true to the period I'm writing about. The 11th book, Take the Long Way Home, is on the way. A release is planned for sometime in the spring of 2025. I hope to include sample readings in future episodes of this podcast. For Lineage Independent Publishing, I'm Michael Paul Hurd. Thanks for watching.